Hi guys, this is Jay here. Today I am going to be setting up my new bullet journal. I have been using the same dot grid bullet journal from Leuchtturm for about the past 3 or 4 years, and I finally completed it. So I am going to be setting up a whole new one for 2021, and we'll see how long this one lasts me. I don't know. I don't tend to log too many things like daily in there. I tend to go and put things in there monthly and a few like trackers. So it tends to last me a while. But what I wanted to originally do is set up the year for like a celestial theme, and that's why you see that sun starburst drawing on the left side. But then I don't know. I've seen a lot of that going around. Not to say that it's not pretty or anything, but I just wanted to try something a little different. So I got inspired by the Little Women movie that came out. I think it was in 2020, the most recent one. But my favorite version is the one with Winona Ryder in it. So I love watching that one during Christmas time, even though it's, I guess, technically not a Christmas movie. I get Christmas vibes out of it, and that's my favorite version. Well, anyway, because Christmas is now over, I was thinking about Little Women, the movie, and I decided to do these cameo type silhouettes, but I really wanted to do a mixed media uh, art deal here. So what I'm doing is I drew the silhouettes on the back of the Starburst or the Galaxy Black paper, and I'm going through my other floral paper book, and I'm trying to find a pattern that looks well with the silhouette cutouts with the black and the silver foiled stars on it. And I'm looking for one that has contrast to it and a pattern to it that goes well. So a little bit larger than the small stars, but not too bad. Um, there's a few pieces in there that are too dark, like the floral ones with the black background. The heads didn't stand out as well. And then there's some that were too light. I think it was too contrasty. So in the end, I end up going with an aqua background with like pink and red colored flowers, roses on it, or different floral effect. And that paper pattern is what I'm going to use to create the oval cameo effect. And I wanted to try to represent all four of the March sisters. So I did some little doodling on the back, and if you're not good at drawing heads, just find some silhouettes and print them out and trace them on the back of the paper, and it should work out just fine. And even cutting them out, you really don't have to put a lot of detail in the cutting. Like I was a little like, am I gonna cut the nose and the mouth right? But honestly, I did like a wiggly cutting motion in that area, and it turned out just fine. And just like you see me cutting the ovals freehand, they came out just fine too. And so I also wanted to reincorporate that same floral paper across through the whole journal for the year, and I made these little bitty rough cut rectangles to go underneath my monthly boxes that I've got set up here. And what I'm going to do is put my goals sticker header on top of each one of the boxes. So there'll be 12 of them, and it'll be one for each month. And the feeling I was going for with this yearly bullet journal setup was definitely 1800s-esque Little Women type book, um, Victorian old parchment paper with the light florals and everything like that. So I hope I was able to incorporate those aspects to get that feeling to come across, and I wanted to kind of modernize it with that dark galaxy paper that I did to give it a little bit of a pop. And I also put those in to as like little bullets for my monthly goals. And then I made these gold foiled monthly calendar, mini calendar stickers. So if you're interested in those, you can hop on the link to my Etsy shop and they'll be in there soon. And yeah, I just love how that turned out too. It's very simple, very minimalistic to me. Then I just made a few of these header stickers for retirement and savings, and I am just copying an old bullet journal setup. It's lasted me for the past 3 years with how I track my income, and that's how I'm going to set that up in a minute. But I'm jumping back over to the very front of this year, and that's the I guess I don't want to call it an intro. It's more so just the opening flat lay page with all four of the cameos, and I'm using my earth tone watercolors to go around and paint, roughly paint in a scalloped edge. I don't know if you've ever looked at little cameos that are hand carved. They're not very perfect. They have a lot of imperfections in the free because most of them are hand carved, not machine carved. And I mean, there are some now that are done that way, but the much older original style ones, you can definitely tell that they were carved by hand. And so I'm incorporating that here by painting with watercolor all around the edges to give it a free flow look. And I also wanted to signify that this was a new year, so 2021, and I'm painting this tea stain look banner where I'm going to write 2021. And if you're interested or you like that old parchment paper style, the watercolor palette I'm using is called Complexions, and all of the browns look really nice in there. And what you can do is paint with the watercolor and a good bit of water to dilute it, and then take a paper towel that has texture on it and blot it, and that will kind of give it the aged look, and I really like how that turned out too. Now I am painting on top of watercolor paper here, so not to confuse anyone and think that I'm doing all of this straight onto the bullet journal paper, which eventually I will be painting on the bullet journal paper, but that causes it to wrinkle, and if you don't mind that, then go for it. But I knew for this first page layout I was going to be manipulating it pretty heavy with papers and glue and watercolor and eventually gouache. So I didn't, and it's the very first page, and I wanted it to hold up for a while, so that's why I went with the Archer's brand watercolor paper. And again, I'm just going back around and touching in the corners that I felt couldn't get under the paper, the floral paper, to give it more of a like a drop shadow on some areas. And I am going to be painting some green vines to kind of mimic the floral pattern, and kind of like the creepy crawly vines that go up the side of buildings, ivy, that sort of thing. And I'm using this Arteza gouache that I've got, and I will be reviewing that pretty soon. And that set was too dark, so I'm going with the lighter ones and just mixing them. And I am freehanding the ivy on one of the upper cameo, and the one on the bottom right I'll add more of the palm frondish type foliage, and I'll mix some of the gouache, and eventually I'm going to dilute it out with water and kind of make the gouache more into a watercolor. But I was really enjoying the way this was turning out at this point, and I wanted to kind of keep it simplistic, but also I liked the negative white space with the cameo and the dark black paper with the holographic foil on it. I thought that was really nice, and the watercolor paper is not stark white, so it does have a slight yellow tinge to it, which I think helps with the aged look, and it also kind of flows with the color of the Leuchtturm bullet journal, because those are also not stark white paper either. They do have they're slightly off white. the next thing I did was I took my brown Tombow brush liner marker and I used the bullet nib edge to draw in the vines and connect my leaves together. I wanted them to be that creepy crawly scrolling vine that climbs up the side of buildings and wraps around things. So I chose to use the marker instead of my brush because I felt like I could control the flow better than I could with watercolor or even the gouache. And plus the brush I was using was not a liner brush, it was more of a round tip brush. So I thought using the marker would be a better fit for this. So now I am taking one of my Prismacolor ink pens, one of the medium ones, and just writing 2021. I waited a few minutes for the front, yeah, I'm checking it. I was trying to wait for it to dry because I didn't want the pressure from me turning it over to get onto the other page. But here I am just incorporating the vine work up at the top of the same color gouache palette that I used. And then I'm going to take the brown bullet tip marker and connect the vines together. So here I printed out some books to read and books I have read header stickers, and I used the same color aqua minty green background that was on the paper from the other spreads and the same dark pinky red that was in the flowers. And I also created my monthly header stickers, which you can get those in my shop as well if you're interested. But I really like how this is a pretty simple spread, and I again wanted to incorporate more of the similar aspects. So I do flip back and forth to kind of see what it is I can bring over into the next few pages. A lot of times I will plan out each page far ahead, but as you can see, like this time I did plan it out but I changed my mind. Like I wanted to originally do a celestial theme, and this time I switched it to a Little Women theme. So I decided here to use the gouache and paint the scrolling leaves at the bottom. And again, I was using the floral reference paper to pick out the pink that I wanted to make my initial J. So I flipped back to the retirement and savings page, and I'm using the same like aqua green to make the banner at the top. And I really like this page. Like I said before, I have used this same exact layout with a different floral pattern on it, but the same table for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's done me well. I don't like to analyze the budget every single day, but now when I'm saying that, I mean towards my like savings and retirement trackers that I have. It's different for your daily banking. Definitely keep on that. But the retirement savings, that thing, it grows slowly. So, it's like watching paint dry. So here I have a little column on the left side where I write the date that I check the balance. And then for each account, I will have a column slash total for it. And that's really it. There's not much else to it. I don't want to complicate it because I won't be interested in planning any of this out for my retirement. Because, we all hope to retire one day. And I am using my Prisma pens to do the line work. I like using the Prisma pen because it doesn't bleed and it doesn't run under my ruler, and I don't really have to worry about smudging it too much as compared to my gel pen. But I love the gel pen because it definitely gives you that darker inky look that has a little bit of a shine to it, where this looks very matte. And here I've switched to my gel pen because I like the flow of the ink better with this. You just have to watch out that you're not going to smudge it with your hand, and like I do many, many times, or that it can get like a glob of ink and like pop out and get all over the place. And so here I had another idea, which made me go back to the books to read page because I felt like it was missing something, and I drew in a antique looking brown aged tea stained ribbon, and I will be writing my books that I want to read on the right hand side, kind of aligned with this vertical ribbon. I'm really excited for Sarah J. Maas's fourth book in her A Court series. So that comes out this February. I've already pre-ordered it. If you guys are reading that or like those type of novels, please leave a comment down below and tell me what you're reading right now. And to give the ribbon that three-dimensional effect, paint the pieces that are closest to you, if you will, a lighter shade of the brown, and then the pieces of the ribbon that would be kind of spiraling towards the back, a darker shade of brown, and that will give it that illusion of a spiral effect without having to really do too much to it. So this is my yearly expenses tracker and my password keeper. Um, I decided to really watch what I spend on a yearly basis, and what I mean by that is not track my daily stuff like, oh, I'm eating food today, so I'm gonna be spending money on going out to eat or something like that. I mean more so, um, like your car insurance, I have to pay it 2 times a year, or like my termite bond, I have to pay that 1 time a year. Things like that that you really don't pay every month, or they're on a like a biannual or annual scale of payment. That way I can kind of plan ahead and know what I'm spending around that time, and if it's a large bill, I can kind of offset it by moving other things to another month, that sort of deal. And then of course this is my password page, because honestly I don't I'm having a harder time at remembering all these passwords that you have to keep for every single thing, and I feel, to me, it's a little safer just to have it written down in a book that never leaves my room. So now, if I was carrying this as like a travel planner or something like that, I would not write it in there. I just wouldn't feel safe doing that. But with all the things that you have to have passwords for now, you might as well have to write that down and keep it in a good place, like by your computer, where you will always have access to it. So while those dry, I am setting up the January 2021 calendar, and I made that little header there. And I also am going to incorporate the stickers for YouTube tracking and Instagram tracking here. While I do have a content planner, like completely separate from this, I don't track really overall throughout the year, and I may track like a monthly deal, but those are like a month at a glance. It's not the overall year in review. So I keep the bullet journals. I don't tend to keep the other types of planners very long. Like I may keep them for a year or two after that, but not for long. But this I'll have a lot longer, and I can flip back to it and see what I was doing that year. And again, I made these header stickers for pollen tracker and plant care. So I have a lot of allergies, and I also have some plants that I'm taking care of. So again, I am flipping through just to kind of get an idea of what I've incorporated so far and what I can incorporate to make it flow, this whole bullet journal setup flow together. And this time I guess I decided to go with my gel pen. My Prisma ones, those suckers are really old, but they work. They still work. So I do like them. I keep them around. I can't remember how old they are. They've got to be from like 20, maybe 2010. Yeah. So they're pretty old. They're still kicking it. See, look at this dude. He writes very well. And here I am carrying those same tea stain banner ribbons over, and I really want to get into plein air painting. I've been saying that for many years. I have the stuff to do it. I've never had the time. I'm hoping this year, with the whole lockdown situation that we're going through, that it kind of forces me to be outside more, because I can't go into public places. So I want to incorporate that. How I will do it, I'm not quite sure. I know I will be going to a lot of the local parks to paint. Um, it's just, it gets so hot around here, and that's a big deterrent, because, you know, sweat and humidity and bugs, I don't like them. But I will try this year. And for this other page, I am going to be setting it up as a reminder to renew my ASCP certification. you know, you could put whatever you want in these, but this is just kind of like an idea of if you've got something like that, like if you have to renew your license, like if you're a nurse or something like that. This, I have to renew my ASCP certification every 3 years, or else my employer will not keep me around. So I do that, and I try not to procrastinate till the 3rd year to get all of my CEUs, but you never know, you know, life happens. I try to spread it out and I have to earn about 32 total, so for the 3 years. So I try to spread about 10 each year, depending on what I find, because I really don't like to pay for them. I like to try and find the free ones if I can. So back to my January 2021 setup. I again am using the floral paper that I used previously, and I will be setting up my goals boxes that way as well, like I did for the year overview. So most likely what I'm going to do is carry the ones that I wrote down in the yearly overview into the monthly, so I can remember them without having to flip back and forth all the time. And as the year progresses, if I don't accomplish the goal for, say, January, I can carry it over into February. And I am, again, painting in, I'm going to paint in all of these calendar boxes here, because I want to incorporate that aged tea stain look. The paper, you know, I'm painting on the actual bullet journal paper, so it's not really meant for watercolor. Now, it doesn't bleed through. I'm not heavily saturating the paper with a watercolor or water here. That's why I'm blotting it, but it also helps with the aging effect. So I think it turns out pretty good here. And I chose to use the Black Galaxy paper and bars instead of the circles this time, just because it was really fiddly to cut all those round circles out, and I really didn't feel like doing it. I think it would have looked better with the round circles, but you know, it still gives that contrast there. And I am using my Prismacolor pen to fill in all the boxes, and I'm doing it freehand. I did not use my ruler on this, and you can tell. And I feel it gives it another handmade look. And I don't have to worry about too much smearing or bleeding with this Prismacolor pen as I would with my gel pen. So now that it's dry, the watercolor is dry, I can go back and start outlining it and writing on it. Because you really don't want to write on top of watercolor when it's wet, because you could tear the paper because it's so thin, or depending on the type of ink you're using, it could spread and bleed all around the place, and then you'll have a not so pretty mess there. So here I felt like the bottom area was a little blank. I really didn't have anything I wanted to write there. You could always leave that blank and, you know, put your important dates, reminders down there or something. But I decided when I was working early on this, setting up this bullet journal, I really liked how when I cut the portraits out, I liked the negative space that it had. So, and I also wanted to see what it would look like in reverse. So that's what made me get the paper out and cut the ovals out for the background. And I am going to also get the floral paper and cut some of the flowers out. I originally was going to cut like the silhouettes out in the floral paper to put on top of these Black Galaxy papers, but I didn't want to waste. I like had a good bit of the floral paper that I had already cut up as scrap. So I didn't want to waste a whole sheet just to do that. So that's why I came up with the idea of cutting out the actual flowers and then kind of juxtapositioning them into like a 3D effect. As you're gonna see is I'm gonna like cut divots into some and like slide them into each other. And here I'm not gonna bore you guys with what I'm doing here. I'm just outlining the pencil that I did, and I'm doing it with my Prismacolor ink pen, and I set up all these little arrows so I can write in the number of YouTube subscribers I get, and on the top of the arrow I'll write in very small print the date that it occurred, so I can just kind of keep track of the growth over a time period. I may check it like every Monday or something like that, or like every Friday, I don't know. I'll try to get into a pattern of a routine of actually checking it to see how it grows throughout a week period. And the same with my Instagram tracker. I will kind of at the end of the week maybe log in what I've gotten in subscriber views. And so earlier I was saying I really liked the negative space created by the silhouette cutouts. And so I had these left over and I was trying to figure out how to incorporate them. So I feel like I could have done a little bit better of a job with cutting out like the very top left side of the back of the head of that one. Like the divot kind of sticks up, so it doesn't flow as seamlessly as I would like it into the page. And the same with this one, like there's a dip where I cut into it. I feel like I could have probably cleaned that up a little bit better, but I do like that negative space that was created. And so with the silhouette heads that were cut out, I decided to use them all by themselves here because I really did. I really liked how these turned out. I don't know why. I've always been fascinated by cameos, and I'm still toying around with the idea of like getting a white gel pen and putting a little necklace on them, or like a barrette in their hair or something like that, or an earring. We'll see. I don't know. here, that is my old bullet journal, and I'm probably going to do a flip through of it pretty soon because it's got a couple of years in it. But I do like the plant care calendar scheduler that I had made, and so I'm going to copy that and move that over. But for this year, the pollen tracker and my top two tables that I've created up there, those I did not have in the old bullet journal, and I felt like I needed them. The pollen tracker is for myself and one of my dogs. We both have allergies, and I've noticed he tends to. I don't know. We got the same health problems. Who knows? um, so I feel like when the ragweed was out, he had a bunch of issues, and so did I. And I said, you know what? Let me start tracking the pollen in our area, and I can probably help us both out. And on the right hand side, my plant care, those top two tables are dealing with the average high, the max, and the average low in Fahrenheit in my region, my area, and the average temperature, I'm sorry, rainfall in our area. I decided to do that, and it's from, I want to say, I forgot the name of the website, but it was like they logged the data from 1900 to 2012, and they averaged it all together. And I thought this would be a good thing to keep track of, just because um, you know, I remember I've lived in the same area for a really long time, and I remember back in October when I was a kid for Halloween, we would be wearing jackets and freezing. And now we really don't have to wear jackets until like maybe December. So I feel the temperature has shifted. That, and I do not like being cold, and I do not like being hot. So um, I like to know the temperature before I get dressed in the morning. So this would be helpful just as kind of like an overall reminder. And I want to compare it to this current year. So that's what the table in the middle is for. So the third table, the big one on the bottom, is the plant, its need, and the month. So January, February, March, all the way to December. So I'm going to write my plant type on the left hand side in the left column. And I have three rows dedicated to each of the plants. Um, I believe it's going to be when the plant needs fertilizing, pruning, and when you can harvest it. Not all of them can have something to harvest, but I just decided to keep it pretty even and for table's sake, and I kept them with three. So I'll write down the type of plant, those three attributes, and then I just Googled, things about the plant and my region, and then I put a little black bubble in the month that that's supposed to occur. And I do this because I really don't like taking care of plants. I like the way they look, and I think they're pretty, but I tend to forget about them when they're outside, and they can get really overgrown, so much so that they cause damage to certain property. So I would like to get a handle on a lot of them before they get out of control, too big to where we can't handle them on our own. We'd have to call somebody and pay them. And also, the ones that do produce fruit, I tend to forget about them because they're in areas I don't really go or see, and all the bugs and birds get to it before I can actually get to it. So that's another reason why I did this. And there's some, like my rose bushes or my little poor droopy lemon tree or my camellia plant, um, they just aren't doing very well. So I figure some fertilizing would probably help those guys. decided to switch over to my fine, very fine Prisma color pen because the space that I have to write the temperatures and the rainfall is very tiny, and I didn't want to worry about gel bleed or smearing. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed planning with me, and if you like this, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And as always, stay positive and stay motivated. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.